Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. Joining me now is my colleague, senior wealth reporter John Hyatt. John, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Brittany.
If our audience remembers, all the way back in September, you and I talked about Vivek Ramaswamy's GOP presidential campaign. That came to an end on Monday night in Iowa. So before we dive into the actual conversation, can you tell us what exactly unfolded in Iowa on Monday night?
So the long and short of it was that Vivek Ramaswamy pulled in around 8% of all caucus goers' votes. So he finished in a distant fourth place behind Nikki Haley in third, Ron DeSantis in second, and of course Donald Trump in first, who collected over 50% of all votes. Almost immediately, Vivek Ramaswamy announced that he would be stepping out of the race and endorsing Donald Trump.
And you compiled his net worth, and I want to read a passage from your story from Forbes. You wrote this, quote, "The Biotech founder and anti-woke activist spent millions on his unsuccessful campaign, yet he is wealthier now than when he entered the race 11 months ago." What was his net worth in February, and what is it today?
We estimate it was about $840 million in February, and today it's a little over $960 million. So a considerable bump of over $100 million.
Huge bump. That is, like you said, more than a million or more than $100 million. So how did he make it if he was pumping money into his campaign?
So his biggest asset is a drug company called Roivant, which he founded back in 2014. And he still holds about 6% stake in that company. And Roivant's stock has done really well over the last year. It's up over 40%. And that has really driven the increase in Vivek Ramaswamy's net worth because, that asset is now worth over $600 million or so for him. And he's only spent anywhere from 17 to 30 or so $1 million on campaign expenses. We don't have the full tabulation of that yet because Q4 and January spending data has not been disclosed. But over the first 3 quarters of last year, he only spent around $17 million on his campaign. So, he's doing fine.
Voters in Iowa rejected Ramaswamy, but how does the public feel about Roivant?
I don't think the public really knows about Roivant, to be honest. It's not something he spoke about a lot on the campaign trail. He mentioned his career as an entrepreneur and, a guy on Wall Street. But, he never really dug into many of the details on Roivant or the circumstances surrounding his departure from Roivant. He does write about it a bit in his book about how, he felt that he could no longer sort of express his thoughts as CEO of Roivant as he leaned more into sort of social and cultural issues from his Republican right-wing perspective. I think by and large, people don't know about Roivant, at least among American voters. But I mean, what's important for Vivek's pockets is that people on Wall Street know about Roivant. The company did a $7 billion deal a couple months ago, selling one of its drugs to pharma giant Roche. And majority of stock analysts covering Roivant have a buy rating on the stock. That bodes well for Ramaswamy's net worth.
You and I talked about Roivant back in September, and a big theme in Vivek Ramaswamy's life is that he likes ROI, return on investment. That's even part of Roivant's name, and it sounds like he's getting that. Now, I do want to pivot to a different company, and that is Strive Asset Management. Can you talk to us about that company and how much his majority stake is worth?
So this is a company, Strive, that essentially sells funds to investors. So these are exchange-traded funds, like the type you'd buy from BlackRock or Vanguard or State Street, that are composed of different equities and designed to provide diversification. Although Strive's big selling point is that it's an anti-woke investment firm, so it forswears the type of corporate activism and liberal ideologies or values that have been embraced by other sides of Wall Street. And this is a company Vivek started sort of on a whim after leaving Roivant in 2022. He co-founded it with his high school buddy, Anson Frericks, and over his campaign, the company has grown pretty considerably. It had around $500 million in investor assets when Vivek launched his campaign last February, and now it has $1.1 billion. So doubling its AUM, that's not a bad haul. We value his majority stake in Strive at over $150 million, and that's based on a previous financing round, which valued the company at about $300 million, according to Anson Frericks, as well as another source familiar with the matter.
His campaign was really centered on anti-woke ideology, so it makes sense that that is what that company is based on. But can you talk to us about what else rounds out his fortune? How much cash does he have on hand?
So we estimate he has about $240 million of cash, liquid investments, and other stakes in private startups, including the conservative alternative to YouTube, Rumble. That's a company he has a stake in. He also has a stake in a tech company called Chapter, which is sort of like a Medicare advisor. Peter Thiel is an investor in that company. He's also an investor in Strive. So, Vivek has cultivated a relationship with Thiel, who, of course, is sitting out this campaign as far as, his donations to candidates. And yeah, Vivek has a large cash pile, and with interest rates going up, or with interest rates having been up, he's earning money on that cash as well. So yeah, he's doing quite well.
I want to talk about what's potentially next for Vivek Ramaswamy. Does it look like he has any interest in going back to either Roivant or Strive? Because this was his first foray into politics.
Yeah, a return to biotech appears out of the question for Vivek. He repeatedly trashed the Food and Drug Administration on the campaign trail as corrupt. And as anyone in biotech knows, developing drugs and selling those drugs, that requires a working relationship with FDA officials and getting drugs over the finishing line. So, any sort of return to Roivant or biotech more generally seems out of the question. Strive, it's definitely possible. He remains the controlling shareholder of that company according to its filings. So, he could come back as executive chairman or install himself as CEO. But by all appearances, it looks like Vivek wants to remain in the political fray. As soon as he stepped down after the Iowa defeat, he flew to New Hampshire, and he's already campaigning on behalf of Donald Trump, trashing Nikki Haley, and sort of refashioning his campaign into an appendage of Trump campaign. So I think we can expect to see him as sort of a Trump surrogate, at least for the next couple of weeks.
Something that's really interesting is when I was in Iowa over the summer, he was asked a lot, if you don't make it to the finish line here, would you be a VP? And he was pretty passionate about, I'm nobody's second choice here. I won't be a VP. Like you said, he has not said a bad word about Trump. He said, I'm not doing that. He wanted Trump to really pass the baton to him and voters to feel that. That clearly didn't shake out the way he wanted to. But has the Trump campaign said anything to the effect of they would consider him as VP, they would consider Vivek Ramaswamy for some sort of cabinet position?
Yeah, last night when Trump, when Vivek was at a Trump rally, and after Vivek praised Trump, Trump said he's going to be working with us for a long time. So I think sort of hinting at the possibility of some sort of cabinet position or advisor role. Who knows? Trump is notoriously, fickle with this type of thing. We remember back in 2016, Chris Christie got on the Trump train pretty early, but Trump famously shut him out of any position in his White House. So, I think Vivek would love to, engineer a cabinet position for himself. And you're right, he has sort of repeatedly brushed off the idea of being Trump's VP, but it doesn't look like Trump is interested in choosing Vivek as his VP. Uh, Jason Miller, a Trump aide, shot down that idea day before Iowa caucuses, and Trump kind of went after Vivek, accusing him of deceitful campaign tricks just before Iowa as well. And ultimately Trump picks people who can enhance his own popularity, right? We saw in 2016 by choosing Mike Pence, he was able to reach that sort of evangelical Christian wing of the Republican Party with a governor like Mike Pence. The question, I guess, is how could Vivek help Trump expand his voter base? I don't think he can, really. I mean, Vivek styled himself as Trump 2.0, and voters didn't really care for it. So, is Vivek going to help Trump pick up the type of, suburban voter who could help swing Pennsylvania in the general election? I don't think so. So I think Vivek will be hoping for some sort of position, but doesn't seem like there's any guarantees there.
Well, it definitely seems like his future remains to be seen, either in politics or not. John Hyatt, thank you so much for coming on, and thanks for your reporting.
Thanks, Brittany.